My second book is called Stop Sabotaging Your Weight Loss, because I work with women over 40, and no word of a lie, they're all brilliant. They have so much knowledge. They have read everything, they've studied, they've Googled. It's not a knowledge problem. Whenever I run live events or seminars and I say, hey, what are the top 5 things you think you could do to lose weight? I mean, the women come at me rapid fire with what they know they could be doing. They don't do it. So, what is it about the knowing and the gap between knowing and doing that stops us? And that's what the second book is about. All of the insidious ways, consciously or unconsciously, that we sabotage our successes and our goals and don't get traction.
Hey there, welcome back to the Reshape Your Health podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan Nolte. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Jennifer Powter, and she's the best-selling author of 2 books in the weight loss space and the founder of the Weight Loss Academy. As well as holding a master's degree in science, Jennifer is a clinical exercise physiologist, a double certified health and life coach, and an emotional intelligence practitioner. She has also been able to lose and keep off more than 35 pounds over the last decade. Jen, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. I'm really excited to talk with you about specifically the mindset of weight loss and all of this emotional stuff that typically comes up when women are really trying to lose weight.
Oh, Morgan, I can't wait for this conversation. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Thanks. Well, give us some of your background, first of all, where you're from, how you really found yourself in this online weight loss space.
Yeah, never in a million years could I have ever guessed that this would be the trajectory of my career. But like so many people who want to help others, it was rooted in my own struggle, and it's pretty humbling to share it, because I do think sometimes people look at experts and they think, oh, that must be so easy, or they've never had a hard moment. They must not like chocolate or wine. And I do, I like both. Okay. And 11 years ago, I liked both a lot. And I'd been active. I'd been a multi-marathoner, Ironman athlete, triathlete, and I found myself after having kids sitting in a body that carried 35, 40 plus extra pounds. And I was beside myself because I had a master's degree in this. Like, I knew I knew the things, I had the knowledge. This is a really important piece. I had the knowledge, and yet I stayed stuck and frustrated. And I kept trying to wonder why I just couldn't lose the weight. And what I did not understand then, and I did all the things, Morgan, like I tried to exercise like crazy. I signed up for another Ironman, and all I did was drive my postpartum body into the ground. It was awful. And that was when I knew it was not just about the food. There was something deeper going on for me. And unless I figured that out, I would be trapped. And we were just saying before we hit record, I can't imagine if I didn't make that change, because I would now be 46. I would have not lost the weight. I would have continued with all of the behaviors and coping mechanisms that I had back then that involved food and booze. And I'd probably be another 50 pounds heavier than that, or who knows? Mm-hmm. And the impact that would have had on my health, my quality of my life, what I did or didn't do with my kids. So I'm super grateful for the change that I created and what I learned through the process. And then that's what motivated me to bring it to other women, and then really bring it to a greater community of women. Every year we grow and grow.
Yeah. And you do have 2 books. And so you kind of said the first book was the foundational knowledge. And I wanted to talk about your second book, because this part fascinates me. This is what I call the intangible part of weight loss. Yeah. And so will you tell us a little bit about the first book, and then kind of dive into why you decided to write a second book and what it's all about?
Yeah, thank you. So Diet Disruption was the first book, which after working with so many women and hearing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories about yo-yo dieting, on-off wagon, that there was this belief that there was a solution outside of them in a product, a plan, a program, or a person that would create the change, and how seductive and sexy the marketing of the dieting industry is. Like, that it's such a recession-proof industry, and it preys on the insecurities and vulnerabilities of women when they're at their worst. And I remember exactly what that felt like. I knew better, but I found myself believing the marketing messages in spite of the knowledge that I had. Okay. Because when you're desperate, you want to do anything, and you want to do anything quickly as possible to get the weight off. Right. Like, and so I wrote a book, basically disrupting that whole mentality, that we have to be able to understand some of the basics, but go back to the basics with weight loss, and that it doesn't need to be as complicated as people have made it out to be. So that's sort of the very practical, grounded, non-dieting approach to losing weight. Now, not dieting does not mean getting to eat whatever you want, whenever you want. With unlimited portions. And a lot of times I think people have gotten so used to eating junk food or low quality food, and that they label health food or anything healthy for them as diet food. And we have to break that belief system. But here's what I found. My second book is called Stop Sabotaging Your Weight Loss, because I work with women over 40, and no word of a lie, they're all brilliant. They have so much knowledge. They have read everything, they've studied, they've Googled. It's not a knowledge problem. Whenever I run live events or seminars and I say, hey, what are the top 5 things you think you could do to lose weight? I mean, the women come at me rapid fire with what they know they could be doing. They don't do it. So what is it about the knowing and the gap between knowing and doing that stops us? And that's what the second book is about. All of the insidious ways, consciously or unconsciously, that we sabotage our successes and our goals and don't get traction.
Mm-hmm. And will you talk a little bit more about the subconscious and the conscious brain, and maybe what role you think each of those can play in this self-sabotage cycle?
Oh, it's huge. And I think that this is where the gap exists, is because there's a part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, that's the decision-making center of our brain and where we accumulate knowledge. And that's the part of us that knows. But what we don't often understand, and again, unless you take psych or something, and unless you're like really into this field, we don't know all of the things that shape us neurobiologically. All of the things that happened, the stories, the experiences that we had as children, the imprinting of our family of origin, so the family that you grew up in, trauma, whether that's, I call it big T trauma, like the big ones, whether that's physical abuse, emotional abuse, witnessing either of those, sexual abuse, neglect, abandonment, parent incarcerated, poverty. There's all of that. And then there's also just little T trauma. It's the thing, and little T trauma is any event or any impact to your emotional safety, whether it was real or not. Perception is the biggest impact of trauma. And all of us at the end of the day, whether you've had an amazing, idyllic childhood or completely not, will be coping with the subconscious belief systems. So these are belief systems that we form early in our childhood about who we are and what we deserve. And it's a place that a lot of our self-worth gets cultivated from, and how we try to get love and create a very safe emotional playing field. I'm the child of an alcoholic mother. I know very well about how much of my emotional field went to scene assessment. Is it safe? Is it not safe? What's the energy here? And then really being able to contort myself, or I call it pretzelizing. I would make myself into an emotional pretzel to either keep the energy safe or to not be seen. And so I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that when I was, don't eat the chocolate, don't drink the wine, and so we punish ourselves with behaviors instead of getting curious about what's driving those behaviors in the first place. And I hope I didn't just speak too long on that.
No, I don't think that you did. I think maybe a big or little T, I'm not sure how to classify this, but this has come up recently, is a mother's relationship with their daughter and the emphasis of praise when they lost weight. And so I think this is kind of a recurring theme over the last couple of months in my coaching, is women who have this overemphasis on their own self-worth in a certain body or at a certain weight. And so they use the scale as a form of approval, just like their mom used to give them approval growing up about, oh, you're looking so good, or you're looking so thin. And, that was such a recurring cycle. And then oh, I have self-worth if I'm looking good, or I have self-worth if I'm thin. And it's like, wow, that is sad, you know? So I'm sure that you've
Yeah.
encountered that one too. Or another kind of sad one emotionally is, one of my clients said that she thought she was having a hard time following through because subconsciously her weight was a protection. You know, she'd been really hurt in the past by a man. And she said, if I'm big, then I'm safe.
Yeah.
And so, how do you help women, first of all, go there? Because it's a hard place to go. We have a lot of tears in our sessions. And I'm like, you know what? This is a safe place to let it out. But how do you navigate that with people? How do you do that? And how do you encourage them to go where it hurts so that they can heal?
Because you can't heal unless you do that.
Mm-hmm.
So even right there, you've mentioned something so pivotal is uh, healing is a repetitive process. And a lot of times what I found with, we have a very similar experience with the hard coming out, obviously in the safety, the container of safety that we create. And a lot of times I think that women will think, well, I went to counseling for that, or I've dealt with that, or that was then. And
Mm-hmm.
you can only heal to the point that you're able to heal from which you can then survive and move on. So as a young child, so anytime you up level or anytime you go through a transformative process in your life, and really transformation is just changing yourself or your belief systems from one state to another, right? So transformation is not this, oh, I've lost 100 pounds, or oh, I'm making $1 million. No, it's your belief system changes, and we keep upgrading how we are living our life by what we choose to think. Every time you do that, you will have a new opportunity to heal at a deeper level. So healing
Mm-hmm.
is a repetitive process, which is why I believe weight loss is one of the most transformative journeys a woman can go on for true healing, because wherever you go, there you are. Your heart, your thoughts, your heart, you cannot escape yourself. And so it forces a lot of times it forces a lot of awareness into those dark recesses of our mind. And one of the most powerful things I've heard is you can either live your life from the place of the wound, what happened to you. And as children, when you are a child, or even, I mean, any woman, I mean, there's bad stuff that happens, that it does, and it's awful. And when you have it happen to you, you are absolutely a victim to the circumstances or to the person or to whatever. What we have to remember as women who, when we move through the experience and we're on the other side of it, is we now have to make a powerful decision. Are we going to act from the place of wounding and stay stuck in the wound? Or do we want to come from a place of healing? And the place of healing means no longer being that victim to what happened to you, but how you're going to choose to handle it now that that is over and you're moving forward in your life. They're very nuanced and tender distinctions.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I think that's why midlife women, for me, middle-aged women, a lot of my clients are in their 50s, they finally get some space in their life to focus back on themselves, and the coping, the surviving, the getting through, the careering, the marrying, the parenting, the marriaging. You kind of, you're in the crunch years in your 30s, and I'm in my 40s and I can still find it, but I still have more space for me. And then we start to go, wait a minute, like I believe there's internal wisdom that says, hey, it's time to change, it's time to heal. And
Mm-hmm.
people will embark on that journey in a variety of different ways.
I was telling you before we hit record that in office hours last week, one of my members, a big part of the coaching was just about her time. And, she said, I'm not doing anything. And I said, well, first of all, you're probably doing quite a bit more than you're giving yourself credit for. Like, every healthy decision counts. But then secondly, you're in a pattern of giving your time away. You are in a pattern of serving your clients, of serving your children and your grandchildren and your spouse. And she's like, yeah, and I think I just need to make it through the next couple of weeks. And I said, yeah, that sounds really familiar, because my mom's a lawyer and my mom's very open and has given me permission to share her story. And so she would always say, Morgan, I'm going to start exercising when this case is done, or I'm going to really focus on that after I get through this mediation. And I said, Mom, no, you aren't. History
Yeah.
would tell us otherwise. And so if you're not actively pursuing you time now, you're going to be in the pattern of giving your time away in 2 weeks. So I said, maybe your photography business will slow down in a couple weeks. And I'd like you to proactively prevent yourself from then automatically giving your time to your aging mother or to your children or grandchildren. And first of all, give your time to yourself, because I think a lot of women just don't recognize, oh my goodness, this is a habit of not putting my own needs first. And I think that awareness can be really powerful. But then what do you do after that? Because like you said, sometimes they don't know that. And sometimes bringing it to awareness is all that's needed. But other times it's kind of changing that belief of like, you're not just your accomplishments and you're not just what you can give to other people. Like, you have innate worth and innate value, and you deserve to be happy and healthy. So how do we take it a step further beyond awareness to really healing?
Such a powerful question. Well, and I literally had to go through that. So for me, and again, awareness is one piece, but it's the implementation of a practice of something different that creates the change. So you can be self-aware as all get out. I mean, chances are you probably know plenty of self-aware women, and they don't change. They know their patterns. They know where they get stuck. For me, I actually didn't know at first. I didn't realize that I chased love. Love was held at bay from me, from my dad, or at least I thought it was. Okay. I couldn't accept the way he wanted to love me. I wanted him to love me the way that I could experience it, and he didn't. So therefore I felt not loved. So I would chase degrees and accomplishments and accolades. And the more that I could do, the more productive I could be, the more worth I had. And it set me up for a pattern of deep exhaustion and burnout for real. And I still never got the love, right? So I this thing about no matter what I do, it's never enough. How many women have said that? Like, hopefully you're laughing to yourself right now if you're like, oh my gosh, that's so true. And so you said something so important. You have innate value just from literally the fact that you're on the planet. Mm-hmm. If you don't choose to claim your space, no one's ever going to ordain you worthy enough. No one's ever going to give you your self-worth. You have to claim it, believe it, own it, and then act like it's true. And in the beginning, it's very hard. In the beginning, I believed my self-worth was rooted in washing the floor. I still remember wanting to go out for a walk with my children. They were little. And then this mean voice in my head came. It was a beautiful sunny day. They were waking up from a nap soon. And then I looked at the floor, and this mean voice came in, and it said, no, you need to wash the floor. And I remember just like, it was like this balloon got burst, and I was like, okay. And I listened to it, because the mean voice is this voice that your ego's peak experience is your pain and suffering. And that mean voice in your head will do everything it can to keep you stuck in your patterns, because even though your comfort zone is miserable, it's familiar, and the brain likes familiarity. The brain weight loss is not hard. It's the changing of the habits to create the weight loss that's hard. Why? Because we like comfort foods, comforts of home. We want to be comfortable, and change, by the very essence of the word, is going to make you get uncomfortable. So you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to be willing to choose your hard. Being stuck and miserable and frustrated and living your life with no energy, and that's really hard. Like I lived that life. It's very miserable. And yeah, it is hard to learn how to put yourself back on your priority list. But I literally just did a Facebook Live on this, saying, if you are not on your calendar is a direct reflection of your priorities and where you need to be spending and giving your time. If you're not on it, then you're not making yourself a priority. And in the beginning, one of the simple tools I give my clients is get yourself on your calendar. Make time. Be worthy enough to give yourself the gift of your own time. Even if it's just you write half an hour reading or, like, it can be as simple as that in the beginning. It does not need to be these grandiose, massive, I need to take away and go on a retreat and journal every day and meditate. No, that's overwhelming. And the minute you're overwhelmed, you're going to quit.
Mm-hmm. Or just cause more stress. I think, myself included, I did this Clifton Strength Finders test. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's really interesting. And my top strength is achieving. And so I have to really watch out that I'm not trying to stack one achievement on top of the other. And in reality, it's actually tacking one stress on top of the other. And so, yeah, I completely agree with you that when someone's like, oh my gosh, I need to lose weight, where should I start? I'm like, your calendar, because it's going to take some time and it's going to take some work. So I'm like, check your calendar and check your expectations.
Can we talk about expectations? Like,
please.
Okay.
Go off on them. Yep.
I'm literally dealing with this with the client right now. So expectations and then physiological reality. Again, the dieting industry, it's why I saw such a need to write the book, is the diet industry sets you up for these crazy, unhealthy, unrealistic, unsustainable expectations. And then we adopt them as fact, truth. This is how it should be. The marketing sign said so, 30 pounds in 30 days. So that must mean 60 pounds in 2 months, right? And I lose my mind. I'm a nice person, but I'm like also a strong advocate for facts and reprogramming our brain to have healthy expectations, because as long as those unhealthy ones are there, you know what it does? It sets you up for failure and disappointment every single time. So I've got a client right now who is just, she came in willing, ready, with time, and she has created what I consider miraculous results in 4 weeks. Like, she's renegotiated conversations with her partner to not eat in front of the television. She's prepping. She's doing all the right things, and she's lost an incredible amount of weight. It's still healthy, but it's on the upside. It's like just under 10 pounds in a month, and she's not that. She's disappointed. And so much, and she stays disappointed. And it's like, well, where do you want to lead yourself with disappointment and frustration because of an adoption of unfactual or unrealistic expectations? Or are you going to allow yourself to lead yourself to success with joy, with pride, with the feeling of, great, I've accomplished this? And it's a real mindset thing, because many women have shamed themselves, judged themselves, and adopted patterns of self-criticism so that they remain unworthy. It's right. So even though the data is giving her all of everything she could possibly want, the mind is holding her back.
And I would love to ask her, I just love asking, where did that belief come from? Where did that thought come from? So, okay, you're disappointed in losing 10 pounds in a month. That's your belief system. Where did that come from? Did that come from past diet experience? Did it come from the Jenny Craig website that says lose 17 pounds in your first month? And I always love the saying, like, you don't have to believe every thought that floats through your head. And it's like, we get to choose our thoughts, and we get to be mindful of those thoughts, and we can change our thoughts. And when I hear that, I'm like, ooh, I hope she keeps it off. I'm with you. I'm like, that's on the upper end. And I just think women have such unrealistic expectations, especially in perimenopause and menopause, when perhaps they tried to lose weight after they had a baby. Well, you had breastfeeding and high estrogen on your side there. Also a higher metabolism from youth and more muscle mass. And so they go into this new phase of weight loss, like you said, when they kind of finally make the time or have the time for themselves, and they have the same expectations of expedited weight loss with not so much effort as it took when they were 20 or 30. And it's like, no, you're physiologically very different than you were when you were 20 or 30. And so we need to taper your expectations accordingly. And more than that, reframe them to embrace slow weight loss, like to embrace those tiny little positive habits, like the communication with the spouse, like the prepping, and so I'm kind of curious when we're talking about like goals and systems. I always want like make following whatever system you set up your goal. Don't make weight loss goals. Don't make goals that you can't control. You can control if you sit on the couch and eat with your husband or not.
I feel like we have the same brain here. Like, I feel like we're literally have some sort of symbiotic connection. Yeah, it's great. I say it all the time: lean into the process, not the outcome. Not the outcome. Yeah. If you are outcome focused, scale weight focused, you're chasing something outside of yourself, which means the result will not be permanent, because it's the chasing of the result and what you think it's going to give you, which is fake. You can never create an outer transformation without doing your inner work. You just can't.
That's important. Say that again. Say that part again. You can't create an outer transformation without the inner work.
You just can't. And I think diets try to, that's the thing. Diets shortcut it. There is no shortcut. There isn't a shortcut. There's a process. And I say, listen, the time's going to pass anyway. So you can do Jenny Craig and lose 17 pounds and regain 30 in the next month or two, or stick with me for 12 weeks or a year. Like I say, if you can give me a year of your life, I'll give you the rest of your life back. Mm-hmm. Right? Because there's a commitment to the process. I work in a 12-week cycle, and because it's terrifying, if you've never been successful, you really don't know if you will ever be successful. And again, that's that emotional intelligence piece. We are wired to believe that our future will be a repetition of our past. And our past has been a collection of diet failures, not personal failures. The diets are designed to fail you so you become a repeat customer. And then the self-talk just gets meaner. So at some point, I believe the pain of living that way has to become so great that you become willing to give that up and do it differently. And that's where I step in. I always joke and I say, listen, what I do, I'm like, it's not marketable. I'm like, but sexy weight or slow weight loss is sexy weight loss because it's permanent.
Yeah, it's
like
not
I'm
a
trying
good slogan. Yeah.
No, I know. I'm really working on it. But yeah, I actually really do believe it. Slow weight loss is the only way for it to be permanent, because how you lose the weight matters. Mm-hmm. How you lose it matters.
We're going to talk about that, but I just wanted to maybe say it in a different way, what you just said. Like the pain of where you are has to become stronger than your perceived pain of what it's going to take to change. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing that women can really keep in mind is, what stories are you telling yourself in your brain that it's going to take for you to lose weight? And listen to the words that you're saying. So again, in office hours, we were talking about like fruit or something. And a member was like, I was sad that I can't have my favorite fruits of like oranges and bananas and whatever. And I'm like, whoa. First of all, listen to your language. I was really sad that I couldn't have. I'm like, someone didn't pass away, first of all. So second of all, the word can't should automatically be a trigger as a limiting belief. Right? So we're going to say, how can I include fruit in my healthy diet, not have that restrictive attitude? And I think that is so important that we really start to listen to ourselves and become mindful of our own triggering words or phrases that are limiting. And so I'd be kind of interested to hear, before we get into like what process you actually use for weight loss, what are some common ones that you hear? So I can't.
I don't get to.
I don't. Yep.
I'm not allowed. Mm-hmm. It's too hard. And what's interesting though, Morgan, is of course they think that because every diet says that, right? Every diet has been a prescription of rigidity and rules and can't have, don't get to. And so it's natural for an attitude of denial and restriction and deprivation to be created. It's not the woman's fault. It's
past experience.
Yes, exactly. If that's what they've done to lose weight in the past, then it's what they believe they're going to need to do to lose weight in the future. Keto, I can't live like that. People keto is I always like keto rebound, women who do keto and they get these amazing results and then they want a piece of damn apple pie. And then they feel the guilt and the shame of having a piece of pie because now their self-worth is rooted in being perfect on a keto plan. And if they go off of it, now they've got the emotional pain of shame and disappointment and somehow they've blown it. So, that's what I really hear. I hear words like, I'm on the wagon. If you're on anything, you are at risk because you can fall off of it.
Yeah. And so what do you say? Like, how do you rephrase that? I hear on track, off track, on the wagon, off the wagon.
Committed to a lifestyle. We talk about being committed to renegotiating our relationship with food and creating a new lifestyle. And I am obsessive with, I do not let my client, I interrupt, I'm rude probably. I'm like, what did you say? How can you say it? That's not what this isn't a program. This isn't a plan. This isn't a diet. This is a new way of living with food that you've never done before. Yeah. And so I'm pretty relentless on that one because it's breaking that neural wiring, which the minute you think you can't have it, you want it. The minute that I've got so many clients who, that by the time you're in your 40s and 50s, you've been through some hard, and many of them kind of have this, like, you can't tell me what to do. Like this rebel,
They do,
like,
and they'll admit it too.
They do. Yeah.
Yep.
Like the minute I start to like push the rules, or they've learned how to cheat the system with Weight Watcher points, right? So they try to make things fit and allocate points, and they do this well, good, bad, right?
Good and bad
if
is
I
a big
eat
one.
this.
Yep.
I'm like, let's be clear here. You're a good person regardless of what you put in your mouth.
Yep. I'm like, good and bad is like for cheating on a test, or like cheat days. I'm like, this isn't a test. This is just your life. There are no cheat days.
We don't cheat with food. We choose it. So that's a common thing that I say as well. So I'm like death against the idea of a cheat meal, cheat days. I see that so psychologically and physiologically damaging.
I know. I do. And it's so common. And it's like, I hear a lot too. How do you deal with this? So, a fellow weight loss coach, and you overhear someone, or maybe it's like a friend or family, and they're like, I really need to lose weight. I feel so fat. I really need to join your program. And I'm like, I don't know what to say to you. So I don't give any advice unsolicited.
Me neither. Oh my God, me neither.
I don't know what to say to them.
I don't coach friends. Like I just listen and I watch, and it's hard sometimes because that either they're at a place in their life where they don't have the capacity to do the emotional work. And so this is their journey, just like it was my journey, just like my clients have been on their journey. I often say feelings aren't facts. Feelings are not facts. So you can be overweight and feel frustrated by it. You can feel disappointed that maybe you're not as healthy as you want to be. And then what do you want to do about it? So feeling fat, it's such a feeling. Even I've said it in my own mind just to be transparent. Days where my cycle, I'm getting perimenopausal. There's days where I feel a little bloated, but it's not the first thing that I always think. I'll be like, oh, I kind of feel fat today. Like, it's just funny. It can just creep in so quick. And then I'm like, no, I know my rings are tight. Or I'm like, oh, okay, I've got some water retention going on. But that's where having such a strong science background, the data doesn't lie. Like the data tells you, is what you're doing working, is what you're doing not working. And we get data in our lives all the time, whether it's empirical, like you see a scale weight, or your clothes are fitting looser, or you're getting feedback from friends and family, or you feel better. I cannot tell you the number of times my clients start to actually eat real food, and they're like, oh my God, I've got so much energy. I mean, they put down the coffee and they start to drink water. Oh my God, my headaches are gone. I just, what do you think it is? And I'm like, oh my God. Like somehow I'm like, ooh, it's my voodoo magic. You're eating, you're nourishing yourself. You're taking care of yourself. It's a foreign feeling for some people, for some women.
I think a lot of women too, this one gets me too, is they're so used to a prescriptive diet. And then they come to me and they're like, do you have a meal plan? And I'm like, no. I have guidelines. And so finally I got the question so much that I'm like, fine, I'll make a meal plan. But like the first page is a bunch of disclaimers on like, these are the general guidelines and recommendations. So I literally just reiterated all of the guidelines and recommendations for how to structure a healthy meal. Hey, this is what I'm doing when I'm intermittently fasting. I don't always eat low carb. Sometimes I go fast longer. And it's like, you cannot sustainably follow someone else's meal plan. And so it's like, I get that you maybe want an example, but goodness gracious, it's so much easier to learn it and to understand how food affects your body and how food timing affects your body and how all these other lifestyle things affect your body than try to follow someone else's plan and really like go to the grocery store and cook all these fancy meals. And it's like, okay.
Again, like spiritual souls, or I don't know what we are, but it's so, I'm literally, this week has been I've got, quite a few clients who've just come my first 4 weeks. And I'm watching them battle themselves because and again, I hear things, well, that's my personality, or I'm really analytical, or I want to know exactly how many grams and I'm like, and they're like frustrated. I can see their brain churning, trying to, I use the word parameters, right? So you got parameters
Guidelines, parameters. Yep.
yeah, and I create a nutrition success, right? This is your nutrition success template where there's basic guidelines, parameters of how to structure meals, nourish themselves, take care of themselves. And man, oh man, there's a few that just really, they're so used to having a prescriptive nature. And I think underneath it all, there's a fear of not being able to trust themselves or, and so I just have to keep saying, trust the process, trust me, trust the process. You're doing it differently this time. This is a new way. You're getting educated about food and its impact and how emotionally you've been driven to make choices. And now you're understanding it. So it's a real tender process. And honestly, Morgan, I can tell you that when I was overweight, I mean, I'm sure you've got I had one pair of Lululemon fat pants. Like that's what I called them. They were one pair of stretchy. They were the Stills wide capri leg pant. And I remember trying to put on my big boyfriend jeans and I couldn't get them up. And I mean, the tears that I cried, the frustration that I went through. And now I am so grateful for having walked that journey because I know the emotional maturity and resilience I needed to cultivate within myself to get to the other side. And that it was not just about the food, or it was so much about that, again, internal transformation. And so I'm empathetic to I watch them and my heart feels, I know I went through it, of just letting go of old ways of doing it
and old expectations, old beliefs, old diets. So I don't know. I think that this is a little bit of a sideways in the, a veer in the conversation. I think that we're coming into a new generation too of working moms and honestly working grandmothers. And when I say working grandmothers, sometimes it's even watching their grandkids. Like that can be a job. And I feel like in my grandmother's generation, a lot of women didn't work outside the home. And so we saw our grandmothers, maybe our moms, depending on your age, really holding down the fort. And then we saw, those expectations carried on to us, and that belief that this is the woman's role to hold down the house. And then we were also expected to get an education and to start our career. And then we were expected to have children. And then we were expected to do it all. And I think that times have changed. And I finally told I love my grandma so much, but I finally told her, I tell her all the time how much my husband helps around the house. I ask for help. I expect help. And he is very generous with his time when he's a farmer. So especially anytime he can, he's really generous. And I think that it was regarding packing his own clothes for vacation. And I kind of called my grandma because we go to visit her, and I'm like, yeah, I packed up my stuff and the kids. And she's like, what about Justin's? And I'm like, oh, he packs his own laundry or his own clothes for vacation, Yana. And she goes, wow, times have really changed. And it's like, yeah, they have. And it's high time that women stand up for ourselves and say we need some gosh darn help. Because I'll tell you what, I couldn't be healthy if I didn't have daycare. If I was trying to do everything that I'm doing and take care of my children, it wouldn't happen. And I think that asking for help, first of all, admitting that we're not superwomen, and asking for help are two skills that we have to embrace and we have to learn. I've had to learn them the dangest hard way. Having two kids, especially during COVID, has been really tough. But I encourage every woman listening to this who feels burnt out of life, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to lose weight? I'm burnt out of life. I don't have anything left in me. Ask for some dang help, because it's no wonder that you're burnt out. It's no wonder that you're stressed, which obviously leads to increased cortisol, insulin, and weight gain.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you do? How do you have that conversation of saying, yeah, you're going to have to say no. You're going to have to ask for help to be able to invest that time back into yourself. As I said, big veer.
Oh man, it's a big, and it's a conversation that really evokes a lot of emotion. I was a single mom of two young kids for quite a long time. And my mom was also in a place where her health was failing, and I'm an only child on my mom's side. And so, and my dad, wasn't in my life at that time. So it was me. I was me with my kids and exactly what and I, again, my mom was a single mom. She was dependent on cigarettes and alcohol. That's where she got love and her coping mechanism. So there was a lot I had to learn, and I had to do a lot at that point in my life to learn how to survive, really. And then it was through being around other working women where I was allowed or shown how to think new thoughts about how I was running my life. I didn't even know how to think those thoughts on my own, Morgan. And I say that because I think sometimes we think this should be innate, or if you did not have a model, if your mom was not someone who asked for help or believed that she deserved help, then of course you're going to come from that orientation. How can you not? And so for me, I remember thinking, like, because I didn't have a mom who could come in and babysit or help me. She was not well. Having to pay for babysitting while my other friends had their moms or grandmas swoop in and make them dinner and and I was like so bitter and resentful. And then I was like, Jen, the voice, pay for help, get some support. And I've really adopted the golden goose philosophy. It's the same as the oxygen mask philosophy, but it's like, if I'm the golden goose, if I'm a provider for my family, and I have clients and I've got children and I've got people who depend on me. So golden goose lays the golden eggs. Everybody loves the golden eggs, right? If I get sick or die, there are no more golden eggs. So a lot of it for me was learning to say no, not yet, later. And what mattered most was me, which was in the beginning, I have to say, I felt selfish. I felt like self-care was a luxury, not a necessity. I totally look back at that version of me and just feel so much compassion for that woman because I had to learn it, and I did learn it the hard way. And I'm so glad you're bringing this question up, because whatever age your listeners are, I have women who still don't understand they're the golden goose in their 70s, and they're like, I didn't know. I thought boundaries were bitchy, or I hope I didn't mean to say that.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
I've never had someone say that word on the show, but I kind of like it, especially from you. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's like no, healthy boundaries are healthy. Like it's good to have that, but we have to be taught. So for me, I'm married again now, and what was really interesting was my husband, who is a gem of a man, but also he's in his 50s. He had a mom who took care of her husband and her boys. So there's been a lot of like, hey, we both work like long hours, long days. Like I'm left with a lot of the emotional responsibilities here of cooking, making dinner, my kids, the blended family. This isn't working for me. We need to figure this out. And I think when we come at it that way, a lot of times when we get to the breakdown phase, we get really angry and we can blast our we come with a lot of anger to the people in our life that we actually want their support from, which makes them not so willing. So I, again, had to do my own work to feel my feelings, understand what that emotional data was telling me, which is, hey, something needs to change here. And then as opposed to blaming or attacking my husband, and I had to come at it with like, hey, you know what? I'm really feeling a lot of stress, pressure, responsibility, and I'm sensing some of the inequity or inequalities in our responsibilities right now. And I really need your help figuring it out because it's not working. And it was so powerful to have that conversation where he could actually partner with me. And we actually have this conversation about, every 6 months, because my life changes, his life changes.
It's a recalibration, constant. And I say that all the time. We've had that conversation recently too, especially going through planting season and harvest season. And it is a constant recalibration of work and family commitments. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. I had a member recently, and she was a little bit overwhelmed. She's like, I'm going through counseling right now. I'm such a fan of counseling. And then I'm also dealing with some like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and I'm not sure, where to start with your program. And I'm like, okay, that's easy. You are already taking the action that you need. So going to counseling is doing, quote unquote, the program. Like your mental health forever and always comes before your physical health. And I get that like exercise and nourishing can be good for our mental health, but hey, if you don't, like we've been talking about, if you're not even in a mental place to like make positive decisions, you're losing so much of your energy to that negativity and to that guilt, to the shame, to the self-critical talk, to bad relationships. And so she posted a win, like my win this week was communicating better with my husband. And it's like, heck yeah, because then you're not going and emotionally eating, or you're not doing other maladaptive coping mechanisms. So really getting to the root cause of what is causing your emotional eating, and
Oh
then
my God.
dealing with it. Like that's how we really, I think, lose weight and keep it off, is reflecting on like, where are my hiccups? It's not a prescriptive diet. Are there best practices? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Are there
Yes.
things that we can do to make it easier? Yes. Here's mine. I'll just spit it out. High protein, high healthy fat, high fiber, drink tons of water, and then we can go on from there. But what do you kind of generally
I'm
ascribe
not so
to?
different. Like I come at it from that uniquely metabolic scientific perspective, which is a woman who's 5'2", and who's 70 and who's 200 pounds is going to have a very unique metabolic requirement, energy demand on her body than a woman who's 5'10", 46, and has previously been an Olympic athlete. Okay, so we have unique metabolic demands, and then we have unique like emotional circumstances. So yeah, and what I find is women come to me very often protein deficient and fiber deficient and chronically dehydrated. So I mean, you said it right there.
It's like, if you got to start somewhere. And
then they come with this belief system that they're a sugar addict, carbaholic, etc. I'm like, well, actually, that's like, it's not. No, so then they try to quit the sugar, right? They try to stop eating that, and then they feel out of control and they still suffer from it because they're actually malnourished in other areas.
Yep. It's like, if you start with like the protein, the fiber, the hydration, you're going to have naturally reduced carb and sugar cravings versus like trying to cut it out. And then
that's white knuckling.
That is like, you can't do that forever.
And that's why they think, oh, this isn't sustainable. I just can't help it, and it's like, no, you just actually, you either don't have the right information or you're still resistant to engaging in patterns of behavior that it's going to give yourself what you need. I got to tell you, I'm not a huge protein fan. I'm really not. Like,
I love
protein. Like I'm not, but I know the difference of making it a focus in my life and pretending I don't need it.
Right.
It is night and day on every single level, physically, emotionally, hormonally, my cravings, how I function when I'm exercising, like all of it. So I make it a focus, and I have to figure it out. Like I don't have to, I get to, because I get to create a really good, healthy life for myself. I don't have to do it. I know exactly what it takes to do the other side, the flip side of the coin, but that's miserable. So I'll put my effort into thinking ahead about, oh, how am I getting my protein today so that I can feel good.
I think this is really interesting too. This is the benefit of coaching, is like identifying limiting beliefs, but then teaching people how to deal with them. Because once you figure it out, oops, that's a limiting thought, that's a limiting belief, I'm going to deal with that one, you're going to notice so many other ones come up. And then learning that process of reflection, or process, since you're in Canada, say process of reflection. I like that. And then changing the behavior. It's almost just like rinse and repeat, pick your behavior and optimize, but you have to first learn how to get out of your own way and to stop the self-sabotage. And I think it's so fun. We could seriously talk about this all day.
Can I just say one thing on this? So, it's so important to this conversation is, we've talked a little bit about, like, I think you're going to agree, you can't change anything until you're aware of it, right? Yeah. Like you can't, so awareness is the first step. And what I found in my own experience and in watching my clients is the awareness piece can be really profound, because for me, I believe my identity was directly connected to the mean voice in my head. So my identity was rooted in those limiting beliefs. I did not understand that they were just thoughts and that I had power over them. Like that was so massive, and such a pivotal point in my personal growth to go, wait a minute, I'm not my thoughts. Like, wait a minute, what? Like, that's just who I am. That's just how I think. That's just what I do. No, it's not. Yep. And so I'm watching a few of my clients right now in that space of awareness where they're like both amazed and saddened that they didn't learn this earlier. It's like that they live decades of their life attached to an identity of limiting beliefs when there could have been so much more available to them. And I'm like, yeah, but look at what you get to do now that you know. And so for anybody who's like, how do I start to do that? Well, you stop focusing on the scale outcome or the doing, and you tap much more into the awareness of your being, and you're going to start to get the messages. You're going to start to hear the things that you think. And that's where you get that ability to have the power over choosing your thoughts, not letting your thoughts run you.
Yep. And I think always praising ourselves is a really powerful tool as well. So when we catch ourselves thinking good things, I mean, which some women are like, oh, that never happens for me, looking in the mirror, like, dang, I look good today. Maybe we don't actually say that, but actually consciously praising ourselves, even if it's for, oh, good job being patient with your son. That was a really loving way to respond to your daughter. Good job showing compassion. So even if you don't love your physical body, I think there's always mental and emotional, maybe spiritual, work-related things, and like start praising yourself, start getting in the pattern of patting yourself on the back and like being your own best friend. I think that goes a long ways, because then you're starting to reinforce to your brain that positive, like self-positivity, self-praise, self-grace. Oh my gosh. Like next time you make a mistake, this is a challenge to everyone. Not a big deal. Like don't fret over it. Don't sweat over it. Don't worry what anyone else is going to say or what they're going to think, but just say, oops, do a little Brittany. Oops, I did it again.
Oops, I did it again. Oops, there I go. Or they got me this time.
Well, give yourself grace.
Give yourself grace. And remember that whatever you're practicing is growing. So if you're practicing self-criticism, self-judgment, self-flagellation, being punitive, you're actually growing that skill set. And it's not a great skill set. Every time you practice self-praise, self-compassion, not the same as complacency, but empathy, kindness towards yourself, humor, then you're growing that. So a lot of times when I get tripped up, I'm like, I don't want to grow that. That's a weed, and then I get to redirect myself to what do I want to be growing? Because if I'm practicing this, I'm growing it. And I use it a lot with my kids. My kids are in junior high, and junior high my daughter's just entered grade 7. And, it's different than elementary. It's a different container. There's more to deal with on every level. And so really taking these mindset principles, but distilling them down to simple little sound bites. Do you want to grow that, honey? Or do you want to grow something different? And she's like, oh yeah, different. I actually did really, she'll talk about how she messed up at volleyball. I'm like, what did you do well? And she's like, this. And I'm like, great, let's talk about that,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I think that that's going to be a skill that I'll develop as a parent, to like distill things down. Sometimes I just talk to my 3-year-old like I'd talk to you. Like last night, he went to his first movie. We'll wrap up on this story. He went to Paw Patrol with my husband because it rained. And so they had man time, they called it. He went to his first movie, got popcorn. Then they went out to dinner with Uncle Nate, who's awesome. And then they went to Costco. So he got home a little before 9. Bedtime's usually like 7, wired. And he's like, Mommy, I can't sleep. I'm like, that's because you watch TV and the blue light in the TV suppressed your melatonin. And now you can't fall asleep because you don't have enough sleepy hormone. Can you say melatonin? And so I need to figure out how to like distill down these informations into sound bites, but it's kind of cute to challenge him to say these hard words still. So
I love it. Well, my kids are like, Mom, can I have some vegetables before I have carbohydrate? And I was like, oh my gosh, like the veggie tray comes out first. But yes, I mean, to have that kind of mentorship and patience as a parent. My daughter's growing up in a completely different kind of, and my son, where obviously she knows what I do. I've written 2 books, but we're very conscious about the value of health.
Yep.
Not weight. And I'm real careful of that. In our household, it's always about how are we gonna be healthy this weekend? What are we gonna do? It's like just a different conversation, right? So, so thank
or
you.
Being strong, or like energy, like how you're phrasing that with your kids. So why are we? Does this have protein, Mommy? Yes, that does have protein. That will make you big and strong, like Uncle Nate or like Daddy, and like really helping reinforce those healthier food choices. Or why are you going for a walk? Because it gives me energy to play with you and Leah. I think that's so important to really pay attention. And I have one member specifically who really encourages other members, like, what behavior are you setting for your children or your grandchildren? Like by not putting your own needs first, what are you teaching your kids and your grandkids? So we'll wrap it up. Where can listeners learn more about you?
So yes, my website is a great place to come. I've got lots of free resources, both my books. You can get the free PDF on there if you're interested in reading more. And I'm on all the places. Facebook and Instagram are really fun for us for me to share my content, and great supportive weight loss group for women over 40 on Facebook. It's called Diet Disruption. And
where's your website? We say your website?
Jennifer Powder.
Okay.
Yeah. www.jenniferpowder.com. Okay. And that's where you're able to learn more, read more, get access to free resources that I think that if you read them and do it, you'll move further along for sure.
Yes.
So,
yep. And you have a podcast coming out. The podcast might be released by the time this is released. So when is that podcast coming out?
November 4th. And it is called, wait for it, Weight Loss Simplified. Because I just feel like it has become so confusing. And so I'm really excited to share the first season. We have it ready to go, and we're just, it'll be fun to have that out before Thanksgiving and holidays and all of the triggers and things that women experience during the last or the tail end of the year.
Oh yeah, that's exciting. So Weight Loss Simplified, be sure to look for that. Maybe we'll try to release this episode a little early so people can tap into that before the new year.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for all that you do. I love podcasts. I love YouTube video. I love watching the interviews and learning and talking about these things in just such a real way, because hopefully somebody heard something, say it in a different way today between our conversation that they just needed to hear it. And that's the gift of you hosting this. So thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you. We'll talk again soon. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.